Today's painting, Beetroot in acrylics. So today I've started with a ground. I'm just drawing pencil over the top. I've used raw umber as my ground just to add depth to my painting, where I'm going to be painting lighter colours over the top. The raw umber will still be there to show through. I'm going to be using these Heavy Body Acrylics today. They're from Phoenix Studio acrylics, and they're great for blending and just giving a bit more body to the painting. I'm also going to be using what I call a flow improver, which is great for keeping your acrylics a little bit wetter because they can dry so quickly in this weather. So I've drawn it in pencil, and now I'm using my raw umber just to draw out the basic picture here with my brush. I'm using a small Filbert brush here just to draw out some of the leaves and the main body of the image there. This is my palette, and I'm mixing ultramarine with burnt umber and white to make grey. And this is going to be the foundation of my background. So this is I'm just applying this now. I'm looking at the light and dark areas. I must apologise for my my camera angle. I'll be working on that in the next video, but for now this is okay. You'll be able to see. I'm adding a bit more blue on the right hand side there to the mix, the ultramarine, just to make it a little bit bluer there. And I'm looking at the negative spaces in between the beetroot and the leaves and the stalks and painting those first. This is acrylic and it will dry, but I want to get that background in so I can paint the detail over the top and be more accurate. At the moment, I'm just looking at the shapes. Doesn't matter if I go over the line. I'm just trying to map the shapes out there and put the light and dark areas with that colour mix. So now I'm going to be using cadmium yellow, ultramarine blue and a bit of burnt umber to make the greens, and add white to the mix, to the green, to make it lighter. Putting in just mid-tones, dark tones, so that gives me a mid-tone, a light and a dark. So using the green is the cadmium yellow and ultramarine, adding burnt umber makes it a darker green, and adding white makes it a lighter green. So that gives me a three-tone palette there to paint the leaves. So I'm looking at the dark, mid-tones and the lights in the leaves there. Not being too precious about it. I like to just slap the paint on and do the tidying up later on. Here I've got the crimson and some white, and I'm also adding ultramarine and burnt umber to make it darker purple. This is for the fruit, for the beetroots. Looking mainly where the darks are to begin with, and adding a bit more blue maybe to the mixture there just to make it a little bit of a darker crimson. Also with this Filbert brush, because it's got a point on the end, it's quite useful to put in, smaller, thinner marks. This is a miniature painting, so my actual painting only measures 9 or 10 centimetre square. So I'm using quite small brushes because it's going to be framed into a 7 by 7 inch frame when it's finished. So again, adding darker blue, make that purple just a little bit darker with the crimson there, the ultramarine and crimson working well together there to look at the darker parts of the beetroot. Still using my Filbert brush, but using it in different strokes. I'm using it flat, using it on the side to get thinner lines. So yeah, the Filbert's working really hard for me there. Now I've switched to a detail brush. This is like a naught or a 1. I think it's probably a naught because I'm working quite small. And just refining the shapes there with the dark crimson. Just looking at how the details of the beetroots that are starting to develop in the painting. And painting over that background now, because the beauty of acrylic is it dries so quickly. Even with the flow improver, it will still dry. And I've not used a lot of flow improver. I've only dipped my brush in it a little bit. And if you wanted to use flow improver, you just dilute it with water as if you were making a glass of squash. So it's 70-30, the ratio there. So it would be 30 parts or 30% flow improver to 70% water, tap water. So yeah, I'm just using that dark crimson again, just looking through the veins of the leaves, little bits of detail again, bits and bobs still in the dark colours. And here now I'm going to be working on the midtones and highlights. So I've added a little bit of white to that dark crimson I was painting with, and it's given me quite a pretty pink, where if you look at objects, they haven't got white highlights. Where light hits an object, it's not white, it will be a shade of the colour of the object. So in this case, it's crimson. So the pink becomes the highlight. And I'm just going around the stems, putting a little bit of pink in them, just to show the lighter parts of the stems there against the dark, which gives it a good contrast. Again, using my detail brush just to pick out the darks again, always working all over the painting rather than just in one area at a time. So while I've got this dark colour on, I'll look at where I want to put it in the whole painting, not just in one area. Otherwise, I'll be wasting my paint and want that colour again and have to make it again, or it might dry on my palette. But yeah, just loosely putting in. I quite like to paint loose, so I'm just loosely painting in those veins there. And because now I've worked on the beetroot, I'm just looking again at how I want to tidy up the background. Using my mix from before, making a new mix because with acrylic it might have dried by now. So again, that's the ultramarine, the burnt umber and white. And the more white I put in, the lighter that mix will go. And looking at the darks again with my crimson and ultramarine, just putting the details in now. These are all like finishing touches really. And here we have the painting. Thank you for watching me today. I'll see you again soon. Bye.